Hello, baseball fans. Big D, bright and early. It's what 11:21 here on the East Coast, 8:21 in LA. LA. If you're in Tokyo, it's probably after midnight. So I'm talking baseball early this Friday morning. Big D, driving the top production, Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page, my own personal Twitch page, the Big D 3300. Yes, 3300 reasons to be up and early this morning talking and reliving one of the craziest endings to any playoff game I can remember. Joining me, I don't know if he's happy, stunned, or befuddled, Dodger Jason.
Hey, Dylan, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be back with you this morning.
Yeah, yeah. If anybody wasn't watching the football game last night, they missed one of the craziest baseball concludes to any playoff game I can remember.
Yeah, and you introed by saying befuddled, stunned, or happy. I would say it's probably a combination of all three. I didn't watch the entire game last night because I was at my daughter's high school volleyball game, but I was keeping track of the box score on my phone. And when my daughter's game ended, I noticed that it was tied 1-1 heading into the bottom of the seventh. And so I'm like, ooh, okay, we got an interesting one here. And so I get home, and then I watch the last two innings of regulation, and then obviously into extra innings, and then obviously I saw what transpired there with the Orion Kirkering play to home plate. And so yeah, it's when the Dodgers won, and for those of you haters, Ha-Seong Kim came back to touch home plate after he initially missed it, so quit hating. I looked at my wife and I literally said, "What the hell just happened?" And then I celebrated. Because I had never seen any type of baseball game in the playoffs, at least, end that way. So yeah, Dylan, that was a crazy ending to a great game last night.
I mean, be honest with you, the series between these heavyweights should not end on a misplay by the pitcher.
Yeah, and that was, I think that play really kind of overshadowed the entirety of the game and the entirety of the series, Dylan, because obviously the Dodgers went up 2-0 in the series. They took both games at the bank, completely stunned the Phillies and their crowd. They come back to LA. Everyone says, "Great, LA can finish this thing off." Philly clobbers them 8-1 in game three, especially when Kershaw was left out there to roast in the seventh and the eighth innings. And then boom, they come back with a historic pitching duel for the ages last night. And even though it may not have been the greatest pitching performance in postseason history, it was still a classic nonetheless. I mean, Sanchez did what he has done for the Phillies all season. Glasnow came up big and clutch at the moment when they needed him the most. 8 strikeouts over 6 2/3. And Dodger haters were saying, well, why the heck did Dave Roberts pull him after just 83 pitches? For a change, it had nothing to do with analytics. Apparently, looking at Dodgers Twitter afterwards, Glasnow was complaining of some cramps in between innings, in between, I think, the fifth and the sixth. And so that's why Doc pulled him early. But aside from that, Glasnow was spectacular. Sanchez was spectacular. And it was just a great game that was, again, overshadowed by that one mishap by Orion Kirkering.
Yeah, I mean, going into the game last night, obviously, we know what happened in Game 3. I think Kyle Schwarber's home run is flying around Southern California now.
Yeah, he smacked it all the way to Arcadia, man. I was impressed with that home run. It
You
was
mean,
just
you mean Arcadia, California, or Arcadia, Florida?
no, I mean Arcadia, California, which is in LA County. It's a suburb, but yeah, when I saw him hit that home run last night, the other night, Dylan, I was just, Schwarber, are you kidding me? And I mean, I know the guy has power. We all know that. He does one of two things really well. He hits home runs or he strikes out. But that was literally, I think, had to be one of the longest hit home runs in Dodger Stadium history, right next to Willie Stargell and Shohei Ohtani and Mike Piazza's home runs. So, yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, and then Kershaw, I don't know about you, but it almost felt like Kershaw was the sacrificial lamb in Game 3.
Well, he kind of had to be because at that point the Dodgers were trailing, and I mean, if you just play the numbers, Dylan, if you play the game of common sense, trailing in the game at that time, I think it was 4-1 or 5-1 by the time they brought in Kershaw. Obviously, Dave Rock, 3-1. Thank you. At that time, at that moment, Dave Roberts is not going to bring in Alex Vesia. He's not going to bring in Roki Sasaki. He's not going to bring in
Yeah.
right, exactly. So especially since they had a lot of usage going up to that game, and Kershaw, who was left off the wild card series roster, hadn't pitched at all in the division series. So it just stands to reason why he would bring in Kershaw. And all the Dodger haters were saying, "Why is Doc leaving him in there to roast? You know why?" And even I criticized that. But when I looked a lot deeper at the stat lines, when I looked a lot deeper at the roster, it made sense, unfortunately, to have Kershaw be the sacrificial lamb because, again, you're not going to bring in Vesia in that situation. You're not going to bring in Sheehan or anybody else. Unfortunately, Kershaw had to fall on the sword, and it was bad for him. It was a bad look, especially since this is his last postseason in a storied career for him. But hey, they live to fight another day, and hopefully he'll get a chance at redemption here in the LCS.
Yeah, I mean, Game 4 was a classic duel. I mean, Sanchez and Glasser were throwing great. I mean, Sanchez not necessarily throwing as hard, but throwing all kinds of crappy pitches. Glasser, I thought, was tremendous. Fastball, curveball, and, I mean, Glasser's command can get a little crazy. Did walk 3 guys. I thought Sanchez was phenomenal. Didn't strike out a lot of guys, but really commanded the ball. Didn't allow really much, if any, hard contact, except the play that Kepler made in left field. But the 7th inning was the crazy inning. I mean, I don't know if you expected Sheehan to be the first guy out of the bullpen, but that 7th inning was the real turning point of the game.
Yeah, and to answer your question, I did expect Sheehan to be one of the first guys coming out of the pen for Doc because he hadn't pitched in 3 days, and I know that in the wild card round, his first appearance out of the bullpen was a little bit iffy. His second one got a little bit better, and so I think for Sheehan, Dylan, it's a little bit more about nerves than it is talent because we know what kind of stuff Sheehan has. And actually, he's throwing the ball much better since he's rehabbed from Tommy John surgery than he did before, which stop me if you've heard that before. But, when Sheehan, I give credit to Sheehan, Dylan, because when he made that error at first base, when he couldn't catch the ball that Muncy threw, that whole inning just could have imploded on him. Being a young kid, this is his first postseason experience as a pitcher. So it could have imploded on him. He could have been a prisoner of the moment, could have let his emotions get to him, but he calmed down. He sucked it up, he calmed down, and he did not let the inning get away from him, which with so many young pitchers, they have a tendency to do. So a credit to Sheehan for sticking it out and composing himself, calming down, and doing what he had to do to get out of that inning.
Yeah, that was and then he gave up the double to Castellanos, but then he got Stott and Turner out, so limited the damage. And then top of the 7th, Will Smith started by grounding out. And then the turning point may have been when I think there was a questionable 2-2 pitch Alex call, which if you looked at the box, it looked like could have been a strike, could not have been a strike. Dodgers got the call. The next pitch is a walk, and then the wheels on the bus started going.
Yeah, and you know what? That's kind of been one of the prevailing themes of that, or was one of the prevailing themes of that series, was a lot of the calls that didn't go the way they should have for both teams. And pretty much like every other team in Major League Baseball this season and through the postseason, you've seen a lot of calls, good calls that have been missed, a lot of bad calls that have been made. Either or, you say potato, I say potato. But yeah, you're right. That one missed strike call there on Alex Call, that did kind of, while that was not entirely the momentum shifter, it did change the complexion of the game as far as giving LA some extra outs to work with and an extra at-bat to work with.
And then Kike Hernandez got a base hit. Why is Kike Hernandez in every rally? Kike may not start every game, but Dodgers can't take out Kike in October.
No, you're right. They can't. And, it's honestly, Dylan, that's one of the great things about baseball Kike Hernandez is just one of those players you can't explain. I mean, the guy swings a fungo bat during the regular season, but for some reason he comes up big in October. I mean, he has the third most home runs in his career in October of any player in the history of the game. I mean, you put Reggie Jackson in front of him and a couple of other guys, and he's right up there among the best. So Kike just happens to be one of those guys who just knows when to step up and when to produce in the big moments. And even back in the wild card series, even though he didn't hit any home runs in that series against Cincinnati, he came up with a lot of clutch hits. He came up with some great two-strike hitting. He kept innings alive because of his aggressive hitting, and he was more selective at the plate. So it's the small stuff like that determines how far you advance in October. And Kike so far has done a good job of it.
Yeah, and so then the Phillies brought in Duran. Baja's grounding out. Phillies walked Ohtani intentionally.
Yeah.
Even though Ohtani's didn't have a great LDS, I think you have to walk Ohtani there, right?
You know what? Yeah, you do. I think you have to treat him much in the same way that you have to treat Kyle Schwarber, because if the roles were reversed and the Phillies were up in that situation, I am pretty sure that Dave would have elected to walk Kyle Schwarber. But obviously, with the roles being reversed, something else happened. But you're right. Shohei only had one hit in that entire division series, and that was back in Game 2 when he had a short little single to right field with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th inning, I think it was. So while Shohei didn't produce much, it's still the respect game, and you still have to respect the power. You still have to respect the fact that at any time, just one hit off the bat can get Shohei hot. So you're right about that.
And then Mookie Betts grinding just like he always does. Eventually on a walk, tied the game, and then neither team not only scored until the 11th. There wasn't a big opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. Both teams went down 1-2-3 in the 8th, 1-2-3 in the 9th,
mm-hmm.
and 1-2-3 in the 10th. So the bullpens did their job. Roy Suzuki turning into Jay Howe from 1988. That's a name from the past. Or Mike Moore from 1974.
Yeah, it's really ironic with Roki Sasaki, because when the Dodgers signed him to really a minuscule deal, they only signed him to a $6 million deal coming out of Japan. They obviously had visions of him being a fireballing starter, and he had all the problems with his control and his command earlier this season. The shoulder injury shelved him for almost 3-4 months of the regular season. They sent him down to AAA. Have him spend an entire month and a half down there, refining his mechanics and everything. They bring him back up, and they tell him, okay, we need you in the bullpen. Let's see what you can do. And we've seen what he's done so far. And it's been one of those things, Dylan, where I think, whether they may want to admit it or not, I think the Dodgers have found their closer, not only for the postseason, but for next season as well.
It's just the job of Chamberlain. We accidentally found a relief face.
It could be, and the great thing about this too is that Roki has openly embraced this. When Dave Roberts and Andrew Friedman went up to him and said, hey, we need you to be in the bullpen, Roki didn't give any pushback. He didn't let ego get in the way. He said, okay, if you guys need me to be in the bullpen, I will do whatever you need me to do. So credit to him for openly accepting the position and embracing it as well. And I mean, right now we've seen him make these hitters look like a bunch of Cal Ripken 12 and under hitters, just blazing the fastball, the breaking ball, which comes in at high 80s, low 90s. He just has a lot of confidence right now, and that's that really is suiting him a lot more than the stuff he's coming out of the pen with right now.
Yeah, I mean, Sasaki threw 3 innings, and I'm not sure the Phillies got anything off. Yeah,
Yeah.
a couple guys. That was domination.
Yeah, it was. And it's not like he's just getting swings and misses, Dylan. He's getting swings and misses, as in these hitters are so far behind in their swings when they try and hit his pitches that by the time they hit the catcher's mitt, they're still swinging their bat. So that tells you right now that his stuff is lively. It's coming in fast. He's obviously showing no ill effects from the shoulder surgery or the rehab, which is great. So, and the Phillies lineup is much different than the Reds lineup. I mean, they obviously have better hitters in their lineup than Cincinnati does. So that was a true test for him to get through some of the meat of the Phillies lineup throughout this entire series.
Yeah, so the 11th inning comes. Vesia came in. He got Schwarber out, the ground out, over the walk, bomb hit a line in the center, and then Bader struck out after a wild pitch, and then I think Jesus Luzardo was in the game. Freddie struck out. Then Edmund got a base hit. Kim, of course, ran for Edmund because Edmund's been dealing with that bum ankle, and Will Smith lined out to Kepler, who was the center fielder, because the Phillies pinch hit Bader, and then Kepler went to center. Muncy got another hit. Surprise, Max Muncy's in another rally. And then Kerkering came in. Kike walked. And then maybe one of the craziest series enders in my lifetime, certainly your lifetime. Talk about the play, bases loaded, 2 outs, where Kerkering was on air alert.
Yeah. So in assessing that play, a number of things happened on this one. First, Paz obviously had the broken bat hit. And right away, I could tell just by looking at him that Kerkering's first inclination was to go to home plate and get the lead runner rather than go to first. And you can see JT Realmuto, the Phillies catcher, gesturing to first base, trying to tell Kerkering, hey, we have 2 outs. You don't need to make the play here. Go to first. That's your easy out. When baseball players and teams practice that play in spring training, that's what they're taught to do, is go for the easy out, which in that situation is at first base. And again, there were 2 outs. And so if Kerkering picks it up, throws to first, Pages wasn't exactly running like a gazelle down the first baseline, Dylan. He wasn't even at the 45-foot level along the first baseline by the time Kerkering even made contact with the ball. So he could have had enough time to pick it up, throw to first, get a slow-running Pages out, innings over, gets extended, and the Phillies probably would end up winning in the long run. But I think with Kerkering being a prisoner of the moment there, he obviously was thinking, look, if we lose this game, we lose this series, I probably stand a better chance of getting the lead runner coming in from third, which is the eventual winning run. And so it was one of those situations where he was thinking about the play before he made the play. And that's what caused him to not only bobble the ball, but throw it errantly wide left of JT Realmuto. And yes, Dodgers haters, I realized looking at the replay that Ha-Seong Kim did not initially touch home plate when he crossed, but he came back to score. And even if he didn't score because of the wild throw by Kerkering, the next runner at third would have come in to score the eventual game-winning run anyway, probably. So it was just I feel bad for Kerkering because
100%.
Yeah, it's like not all Dodger fans were going, yeah, you suck, man. No, I feel bad for Kerkering because that's one of those plays that can haunt a player. Dylan, I remember way back in '86 when
Bill Buckner.
Not Bill Buckner. Actually, before that, I remember when Donnie Moore of the Angels gave up that eventual go-ahead or game-winning home run to Dave Henderson of the Red Sox in the '86 ALCS. Donnie Moore never lived that home run down, and eventually, unfortunately, he committed suicide because he lived with that failure the rest of his life. Now, I'm not saying Kerkering is going to do that. I hope he does not. what I'm trying to illustrate is that plays like that haunt players mentally. And I give credit to the Dodgers organization because they came out and they tipped their caps to Kerkering and the Phillies. In fact, I read on Dodgers Twitter last night, Dylan, where Mookie Betts and Dave Roberts and Freddie all went into the Phillies clubhouse after the game and shook hands with Rob Thompson, the manager, and Kerkering and some of the other players, just to let them know, hey, that was a great game, a great series. So that's a lot of class. That took a lot of class to do. And Kerkering is a good young pitcher who I hope will learn from this and not let it affect him because he has a good career in front of him. Unfortunately, he just happened to make that one play that determined the outcome of the game.
You know, guys have made errors in big moments. Unfortunately, Kerkering's error was in the biggest moments where, I don't know about you. Did Kerkering think there was only one out?
No, I think Kerkering knew. I think Kerkering knew how many outs they had, and I mean, Real Muto was there to relay to him the signals and let him know how many outs they had. Again, I just think that it was just a matter of him thinking mentally, I'm better off trying to get the runner at home rather than trying to get the easy out at first. And I guess hindsight being 2020, he could have easily made an errant throw to first if he tried to go for the easy out at first and nail Pages. But again, and this is just my assessment and looking at the way things unfolded, I'm trying to put myself in Kerkering's cleats as well. And I would say to myself, look, in a situation like that, with the bases loaded and 2 outs and the runner's coming from third, he's being told by the third base coach, hey, you're running on contact with 2 outs, give nothing, let nothing go. I would probably have done the same thing. Mentally, I would have said to myself, I got to get this guy out at home plate. And again, it's a situation where he thought about making the play before he actually made the play. And even though it was a broken bat hit, the ball was not, it's not like it sailed left or sailed right. It was right in front of him, So he just, he rushed it and got caught up in the moment. And unfortunately, it didn't roll the way that he wanted to.
I think Kerkering gets Pages at first base if it's a good throw.
Oh, easily he does, yeah. Because like I said, Pages was not running that hard coming out of the box. I mean, he was barely 45 feet down the line when Kerkering even attempted to field the ball. So he had enough time to field it, turn around, and make a clean throw over to Bryce Harper at first.
And yet one of the craziest and yet probably the most anticipated series ends with that. I mean, I feel like in a way baseball's been cheated out of Game 5, but that's it. By the way, how many series have the Dodgers won where the other team outscored LA?
Let's see. I want to go back to, I want to say the 2017 NLCS, if I remember right. I want to say the Padres outscored them in one of these series, whether it was a division series or an NLCS. I don't remember which, but it hasn't been a lot. But it's interesting because, up until Game 3, the Dodgers this postseason have scored 4 runs or more this October. And in the last 2 games against the Phillies, they were held to 3 runs or less. So kind of interesting how, how the pitching duels there, how the old adage, great pitching trumps great hitting, came back to affect the Dodgers in this series a little bit.
Crazy things can happen, right?
And yeah, and that's what's so unique about the game of baseball over football and basketball and hockey, Dylan, is that there's more than one way to win a game, and it's really, the old saying goes, baseball is a game of inches. Well, that play last night by Kerkering was a prime example of it being a game of inches. It's not like in football where you have to score a touchdown. And while there are a couple of different ways to score touchdowns, that's it. In baseball, you can score a winning run either off an error, a base hit, a sacrifice, a home run, hit and run, squeeze. I mean, it's just so many ways and so many things that can unravel and determine how you score and how you win a game.
Or touch push your way into the end zone.
Or push your way into the end zone, yes.
By the way, I can't. Speaking of that, I can't imagine what Phillies sports talk radio is just saying this morning with the Eagles losing and
And the
MetLife.
Phillies.
That's gotta. That's gotta be
Yes.
fun.
Yes, if you are a Philly sports fan, and Ryan, my friend, I'm talking with great reverence and respect for you, Ryan. If you're listening or watching, it's not a great day for Philly sports fans, and I don't know if they're expecting a great season out of the Sixers in the NBA this year or the Flyers in the NHL. So overall, it could be a very bad sports year for Philly fan.
So Dodgers are in their what is it, seventh NLCS in the last 10 years, and now you're
Mhm.
going to play the winner of the
Mhm.
Cubs Brewers Game 5. So Rick
Mhm.
Diaz is here and said, "So Dodgers are there again, huh? No wonder." So who the Dodgers? So two-part question: Who the Dodgers going to play in the NLCS, and who do you want the Dodgers to play in the NLCS?
Who I want the Dodgers to play is the Chicago Cubs. We played the Milwaukee Brewers in the regular season, and we went 0-8 against the Brew Crew. Yes, and I'll tell you why they went 0-8 against the Brew Crew in a little bit.
Defense play?
Well, one of them, yes. The reason I want them to play the Cubs is because even though Chicago can hit the ball really well, also, I think the Cubs lineup favors LA pitching a lot more than LA's lineup favoring Chicago's pitching, if that makes sense. I just think that both teams, Chicago and LA, match up a lot better on both sides of the ball, pitching, offense, and defense, than Milwaukee. And again, the reason why I don't want them to play the Brewers, aside from going 0-8 in the regular season, Dylan, is because Milwaukee does the things that LA does not do. Okay. They put the ball in play. They have intelligent at bats. They very rarely kill themselves with mental mistakes on the base paths. Defensively, they are a very sound team. And when you look at how this team is managed, they are managed by a guy in Pat Murphy, who used to be a college coach. He was at the University of Notre Dame, where he helped rebuild and basically resurrect that Notre Dame baseball program into one of the best college baseball programs in the country over the last few years. And I find it no coincidence that a college coach, or that a team, I should say, in the Brewers is having this success under a college coach, because he teaches the fundamentals of the game. He doesn't manage the numbers or the analytics the way that guys like Dave Roberts and Craig Counsell do sometimes. So the Brewers, again, they're an intelligent ball club. They put the ball in play. They play all 27 outs. And they're not predicated on power. They're predicated on contact. They're going to get their hits with 2 strikes. They're going to get their hits with 2 outs. And Dylan, they're outstanding at driving the ball in all directions of the field. So just that alone would give LA some fits. And it did during the regular season. Now, I know regular season is much different than October, but still, Milwaukee scares me just for those reasons.
I also think with Milwaukee, part of the Brewers' success is that Milwaukee's not scared.
Mhm.
There's no pressure on Milwaukee. I think there's pressure on the Cubs because the Cubs have a big payroll. There's pressure on Dodgers because you guys have a $350 million payroll. And the Brewers, I mean, Toronto and Milwaukee play similar. And we saw the Blue Jays beat the Yankees because Toronto put the ball in play, sack fly, run, bunt, and the Yankees couldn't get the big hits other than Aaron Judge in Game 3.
Yeah, exactly. You hit the nail right on the head, Dylan. It's called fundamental baseball. It's how games and how Octobers of yesteryear were won before the age of analytics. And with Milwaukee also, let's keep in mind that when they hired Pat Murphy to replace Craig Counsell, a lot of experts and a lot of fans thought, well, this is Milwaukee's way of kind of hitting the reset button. And they didn't necessarily do a full-blown, rebuild. They didn't tear up their roster and try and, break it down and build it back up again. They just hit the reset button. And no one expected this team to be this good this quickly under Pat Murphy. So that's another reason why I think the Brewers are flying under the radar, is because we didn't expect them to be this relevant again this fast. So that also is just a testament to the effect that Murphy has had on that team. And look, Dylan, I'll be honest about one thing too. If, let's say, for argument's sake, LA ends up playing Milwaukee in the NLCS, and let's say the Brewers defeat the Dodgers, regardless of however many games, I have no problems with Milwaukee going to the World Series and winning it. I mean, the only time they've been in the World Series in franchise history was back in 1982 with Harvey's Wallbangers, and they lost to the Cardinals in that series. So that fan base is thirsty for a World Series, especially since the Milwaukee Bucks won an NBA championship before they won a World Series. So I would love to see that fan base win a championship. They're a great baseball town. They're a very good sports town in general. So I would have no problems, honestly, with Milwaukee. I can't believe I'm saying this. I have no problems with Milwaukee beating LA and winning the World Series, because overall, I'm just a baseball fan in general. And I think it would be good for baseball to see a team like Milwaukee or even Toronto win the World Series.
We're in Seattle, for heaven's sake, if the Mariners somehow survive tonight.
Yeah, Seattle, the last time they were at this stage of the season was back in 2001, and we all know what happened that season. So, and the Mariners are the only team in Major League Baseball history to never appear in a World Series. Forget about winning. They're the only franchise to never appear in a World Series. So what I said about Milwaukee stands for Seattle fans. I'd love to see Seattle.
Plus, the Milwaukee Brewers used to be the Seattle Pilots.
Good historical note. Yes, they were the Seattle Pilots for one season under the infamous manager Joe Schultz, until they obviously packed up after their only season and then headed off to Milwaukee and became the Brewers. So good historical note there.
Yeah, the Pilots ran on money, and Bud Selig brought them to Milwaukee.
Yep, and as they say, the rest is history. But I'm going to be real interesting to watch that Detroit-Seattle series, because Detroit obviously is going to have Tarek Skubal back on the bump today. And even though they're going to be in Seattle, we know that Skubal is, he had a 14 strikeout debut against Seattle in Game 1. So we know what this guy's capable of doing. He can shut down the Mariners, and I'm sure they're well aware of it.
Yeah, do you expect any roster changes for the NLCS? Is there a chance that maybe a Michael Kopech is ready to rumble?
No. In fact, before the season ended, Dave Roberts pretty much shot down the notion of Kopech being on any postseason roster. Obviously, Dylan, I think at this point with Michael Kopech, it feels like the Dodgers have pretty much burned that bridge. Not only can he not hit the broadside of a barn, he is just so wild and so unreliable. He can't stay healthy. He has shoulder injuries, he has knee injuries, he has back injuries, he has wrist injuries. It's like whenever he goes on the IL, he spends 3 months on it. And then when he comes off, he makes an appearance and then goes back on the IL the very next day. So it feels like with Kopech, at least, they've pretty much set that ship has set sail. He won't be in LA next season, I can tell you that. But as far as being on the postseason roster, there are no plans to put him on it, at least that I've heard.
By the way, I got a trivia question for you. You know how many RBIs Bryce Harper told in the NLDS against the Dodgers?
I am going to say 0.
Yeah, none. That's a problem for the Phillies.
Yeah, and again, the old adage goes, great pitching trumps great hitting. And if you take away the Game 3 offensive barrage by Schwarber, who hit 2 home runs in Game 3 at Dodger Stadium, LA starting pitching shut down the Phil's big 3. Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and Bryce Harper. They forced the middle of that lineup with guys like Bryson Stott, Edmundo Sosa, and Alec Boehm to beat them. And even though those guys got their hits, they were scattered all about here and there. They weren't big clutch hits. And it's weird, Dylan, because, it's ironic in a way. Last season, the Dodgers made their run to the World Series because their starting pitching was in disarray, in complete shambles. The bullpen rode them all the way to the World Series.
And now the other way around.
Exactly. This year, the bullpen is in shambles, and the starting pitching has just been phenomenal. Even I've been amazed at how dominant their starters have been. And the pro and con to the Dodgers having this many days off now is that Doc can now set his rotation any way that he wants. So he can decide to have Shohei pitch in Game 1, or he can decide to have Blake Snell pitch in Game 1, or he can mix and match any way that he wants. and he has the time to give these guys a little bit of rest to do that, which I think they need. So yeah, it's just ironic that we're seeing the exact opposite happen with LA this postseason that we did last year.
And you know what? Who's to say Dodgers won't end up in another World Series?
It very well could happen. It's either Chicago or Milwaukee is going to pose some issues for them. Every team that gets into October does, because you're playing the best of the best. But yeah, I mean, they very well could. They're playing with a lot of excitement right now. And before they lost to Philly in Game 3, they had won 9 games in a row, dating back to that Arizona series during the last week of the regular season. So again, they got hot at the right time. And even though they lost Game 3, they still have a lot of confidence. They still have the mojo, and they're still going to ride that, hopefully, all the way to another World Series.
All right, thanks for hopping on, and wish you Dodgers well starting the NLCS Monday evening.
Yep, I definitely will. I'm going to be excited for it, and regardless of how they do, still proud that they got this far. Because earlier during the regular season, I even said, "Hey, remember when I made the bold prediction? Dodgers are out of it. We're toast. We are not going to make the postseason. We're going to be 10 games under 500 by August." But they proved me wrong. I'm glad they did. Call me a fair weather fan. I don't give a shit.